Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Korman Productions Deep Dive TV podcast with my co-host Stacie, here to talk about Revival, Season 1, Episode 1, titled Don't Tell Dad. The episode's description reads as follows. As the dead return to life in a small town, Officer Dana Cypress unearths a new deadly mystery. The series was created by Aaron Kuntz, who, by the way, has a birthday of February 26th. That would be the day after mine, and would be the same date as a friend of mine. So he's basically birthday twins with my friend of like almost 40 years. And also created by Luke Boyce. The episode was written by Aaron Kuntz, Luke Boyce, and Michael Morikai. And the episode was directed by Amanda Rowe. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a sport-free podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen.
Yes, we're going to have all the spoilers.
Right. Secondly, if you're listening to one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow, and feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Korman Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you are already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, so Stacie, your opening thoughts on the opening episode of Revival.
Okay, so we went into this kind of blind.
Yes.
We just knew the basic premise. We were like, this sounds cool. Let's check it out. I was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
For an opening episode, and we talk about, because we talk about a lot of series here, pilots are hard.
Yes.
They're really easy to screw up. And I think they did a great job for a pilot. We met a whole bunch of characters. But I don't think we got bogged down in character development. We're already thrown right into the thick of what is going on, what is the mystery, what are we trying to solve. There's already like puzzles and questions and things that make you want to rewatch and be like, well, wait a minute, what was that about? I think they did a pretty good job. And I'm intrigued by it, and I'm curious where the story's going, and it made me want to watch more.
I think that that's the key word, is intrigued. I have no idea where this series is going. I don't know if it's going to be a great series, a good series, or if it's just going to go under the dome I'm hoping that it'll be a great series, and I'm very interested to see where the story is going. Right now, I have no clue. But
because we haven't read the comics. Right,
yes.
I don't think you mentioned that yet in this episode, that this series is based on a comic.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on an Image comic that I'm not seeing in my notes. Let's see, Image comic series from Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. So if you've read those comics, maybe you know where this is going.
Right. Perhaps.
Or maybe they're changing it up. Who knows?
I mean, it could go either direction.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely, it's interesting because there are some questions that are not really explored in this episode that I hope that they will explore. Like, for instance, what does it mean to be dead and come back to life? And, do you have memories of being dead? I think we get some hints that they don't really remember the fact that they died.
Yeah.
It was kind of like blacking out and then waking up.
Right.
But I'm actually kind of curious what that means to the characters themselves, who are the revivals. And also, what does it mean to the family members to have somebody who died on you, come back?
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to dig into that deeper once we get past the, hey, this is the pilot and we have to introduce you to 50 characters in 45 minutes.
But I mean, that is something that I think I am most interested in exploring with this series, is those questions. But yeah, do we have anything else to say before diving in?
Just the whole concept of the show, like, hey, people died and they came back to life. It's been done plenty of times before. Specifically, for me, it was reminiscent of shows such as The Returned. Do you remember that one? There were two versions.
It's funny because one of the actresses in this series was also in The Returned, or at least the movie version.
In the movie, which was a totally different thing.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was about zombies.
Gotcha.
Totally different from the series, though. The series The Returned, there were two versions of it. There was a French version and then a North American version, like a remake. Loved both of them. Great series. Another similar concept was Resurrection.
Yes.
That's the one that starred Omar Epps and Francis Fisher.
Yep.
And then the Australian show Glitch.
Gotcha.
Have you seen?
I have not seen that. The other show it made me think of a little bit. Not the same concept, but a similar kind of theme is Manifest.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like them coming back from the dead, but it's them being missing and then coming back.
coming back to their lives.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, similar a little bit. on that note, also kind of a little similar to the 4400.
Right.
Which, again, they weren't dead in that series. They were missing.
Right.
But the same type of thing is reacclimating to a life that you had left, and now you're back.
Right. So it's not like necessarily a totally unique sci-fi concept.
Right.
But it is. But it has potential.
But what we're going to do with the story,
right? Could be
seems like we could be doing something unique with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should we get into the episode?
Yeah, I guess we should.
And if this is your first time with us,
right.
I'm going to explain a little bit what we do here. We're going to go scene by scene, talk about every single thing that happened in the episode. And as we do so, we're going to talk about all of the actors. Now, because this is the pilot and this is our first time meeting everybody, it is going to feel bogged down a little bit because we're constantly going to be stopping to talk about actors.
Right.
That will ease up in episode 2 because we've already met all the main people, and it will at that point just be
the guest
new actors coming in that we hadn't talked about already. But in this one, it is going to seem a little slow, and I apologize if that's not your thing, but we do want to do our due diligence to all of these fine performers and give them their shout-outs.
All right. So the episode begins at Randy Crematorium, with whom I presume is Randy, played by Graham Barrett, who only has 2 other acting credits, this one being the third, actually, including Almost Friday TV, and he has a singular writing credit. That's the other thing, is that right now, this doesn't actually count on these people's pages.
Yeah, so as of when we're recording this, which is about a week before before you're hearing it, before it airs, none of these people's IMDb profiles have been linked to any actual episodes yet.
Right.
Which made this very challenging to take notes on.
Yes, yep.
Hopefully by the time any of you want to look at any of these people, it will be updated on IMDb. Billing.
So he's got a person interviewing him with a camera. I'm not totally sure who this is.
This is, the character is May Tao. She seems to be some kind of a reporter or something. She's played by Catherine King So. She was in 15 episodes of Transplant, 3 episodes of The Bold Type.
All right. So as he's talking, he's loading a body into the incinerator. And as we pan the room, we see a little girl, very clearly dead. I believe this is Jordan, played by Flora McKinroy. This is her only credit thus far. And she certainly seems like someone who might have a future. He starts the process of incinerating the body,
which we're told is a John Doe.
And suddenly there's a bunch of alarms and chaos, and something's trying to get out. The body ends up getting out of the incinerator. It's very much on fire. And
so the girl, she's like, stop it! He's alive! and Randy, who we're getting a quick note on who Randy is. He was being kind of crude and telling some kind of off-color jokes at the beginning of this, and he's like, I don't know how to stop it. I've never had to do that before.
Right.
And then, the guy comes out, and it's like, oh my god, did you just try burning somebody alive?
Right.
What's going on here? So we have this burning man. Beautiful cinematography. This is an awesome opening scene.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and talk about the man on fire.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if this is spoilery.
Okay.
It might be. But it's based on credits and stuff that is public. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about it.
All right.
According to a press photo, the actor we're seeing on our screen, the man on fire, is Brandon Oakes.
Yes.
Who is listed in the opening credits as a guest star for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see Brandon Oakes in this episode, other than we have to come to the conclusion that he is the man on fire.
Right.
Now, we know from IMDb credits that Brandon Oakes plays a character named Jesse Blackdeer.
Okay.
Now, that name is going to come up again in a couple minutes.
Right.
But we're not going to dig into that. So, I think that we may have just accidentally solved a question we don't even know exists yet.
Okay.
Of who this character is. Because remember, this is a John Doe. They don't know who he is.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But I'm pretty sure this is Jesse Blackdeer.
Okay.
Because both the man on fire and Jesse Blackdeer are played by Brandon Oakes. Unless they just used him as because they needed to light somebody on fire. That's possible,
That
too.
is also possible.
That's possible, too. But let's see. Brandon Oakes, he was in 16 episodes of The Trades, which just won a Screen Nova Scotia Award for Best Scripted Series.
Yes, congrats to them.
This past week. amazing. And there's lots of people in the trades that we've talked about in all
Rob
of our
Wells
other shows.
specifically is the one that stands
Rob
out.
Wells is in there. Sarah Campbell,
Yes.
who's in From. Haven't seen the trades. I don't think it's available to us in the U.S.
I
yet.
doubt it. Yeah.
But looks like a good show, and it's got an amazing cast. So he was in 16 episodes of that. He also was in 6 episodes of Slasher.
Okay.
I loved that one.
All right. So, so basically this man is flailing around, scaring the crap out of them. Another body in a body bag rises.
Yeah.
And
Super creepy imagery.
and Randy says this is not his fault.
Right. And also, like, all of the freezers. Like, there's banging coming
Yes.
from all of them on the inside. All the bodies are awake.
Right.
And he's like, this isn't my fault.
Right. And it's kind of funny because I'm not sure about the tone of the series so far.
So, yeah, at this moment,
It's going for like a comedic
because the
comedic
very next
dramedy.
scene, we meet our next character, which we're going to talk about in a second. He goes, well, it sure as shit isn't my fault.
Right.
In a totally different conversation.
Right,
And
yeah.
it was funny.
Yes.
It was beautifully cut.
Yep.
It was beautifully directed, written. Whoever did that, at whatever step of the process, it was beautiful. But it made me go, oh, is this a comedy?
Right.
It's definitely not.
Right. No, it has a very comedic tone at points, but it's definitely more of a sort of a drama series. But
Right. It's
a drama, horror, sci-fi.
thriller,
Yeah.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
But it's got comedic moments as well.
Right.
It really has all the beats.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
this moment was hilarious, the way they cut that.
Right. So yeah, we cut to Sheriff Wayne Cypress, played by David James Elliott.
He's one of our main characters.
91 credits for him as an actor, including a couple that haven't been released yet, including 227 episodes of Jag.
Right, which is a Donald Belisario
Yes,
production.
yes,
Very
which-
familiar with his work.
Yep.
Quantum Leap is our first love. If you don't know that, go check out our podcast on that series.
He was also in a couple episodes of Mad Men and a football movie titled Heart of a Champion.
He was also in Zoe's Extraordinary Christmas, which was the Christmas special spin-off of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and 7 episodes of Secrets and Lies.
And as you were just saying, he's also stating for very different reasons that this is not his fault. He's having an argument with his grown daughter, Dana, played by Melanie Scrofano. 67 credits for her, including 6 episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the 2014 version of RoboCop, and 10 episodes of Being Erica.
Yes, Being Erica. She was one of the group therapy people in that last season.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, we both loved that
Yep.
show. Great time
You
travel show.
were the one that introduced me
I
to
know.
it.
So many shows I introduced you
I know.
to, Dave.
I know.
We should put that on our eventual list.
Yeah.
Because that was a good time travel.
Oh yeah, Being Erica is definitely something I would like to cover at some
Eventually.
point. Yeah.
In like 30 years, we run out of other things to talk about
Right.
because we got a very long list. Melanie Scrofano also played Wyatt Earp in both the series of that name and the recent film Wyatt Earp Vengeance, as well as a revival series called Tales from Purgatory. And what did I just say she did?
Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, that's wrong. Winona Earp.
Okay, I was very curious.
I
about
was like,
that.
wait a minute, I said that wrong.
I was like,
Winona Earp.
Okay. I was like, wait, did they change Wyatt Earp into a female character?
Winona Earp. That
Okay.
was me just words. You know?
Right. Okay.
So Winona Earp Vengeance, she actually just won a Canadian Screen Award for Best Lead Performer for that film.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's kind of a big deal right now.
Pretty cool.
And she's the lead actress in this series. She was also in the film Saw 6. That's the one that Peter Outerbridge was in.
Okay,
The
yep.
insurance, all the insurance employees. She
Gotcha.
was one of his employees in that.
Okay, so we got some Sullivan's Crossing crossovers already.
Already.
Dana is packing to leave, which her dad is not happy about. He apparently didn't tell him that she was going to leave.
Yeah, so she's trying to move out of town.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, when were you going to tell me? Literally, I'm your boss. Were you going to tell me you're quitting your job?
Right. He gets some phone calls, and we meet Cooper, her son, played by Hudson Worcester. 13 credits for him, including some Christmas movies, including The Naughty Nine.
The Naughty Nine with
Windora.
who's in Sullivan's Crossing.
We were considering covering it, but she's like in literally one scene of that. So
Maybe it'll be on our Christmas list eventually. Probably
Yeah.
not this year. And I don't know if we mentioned it at the top of this. We talked about this in our spoiler free that we released earlier in the week, but I don't think we mentioned it in this podcast, is that as well as this being, something in our wheelhouse genres to cover, this series is filmed in New Brunswick, Canada.
Yes.
Which is just a province over from... Did we talk about this?
I think we did. Not in this one.
Not in this episode,
no.
yeah. So, it's this is the neighbor to Nova Scotia, which is where the shows From and Sullivan's Crossing that we both cover is filmed. So we're going to see a lot of crossover between actors and projects and people that we talk about on our channel, including, we just mentioned Lindora. We have interviewed her. Go check that out on our channel. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of little things like that, where the things that we decide to call out from people's IMDb's isn't necessarily their biggest things, but it's the things that speak to us based on the other stuff going on in our lives and in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Wayne gets off the phone and gives his daughter some more crap for abandoning him when he gets a phone call, which makes him angry. He starts to get calls about the dead people coming back to life. I don't know that
But he doesn't say it.
Right, yeah. Dana is pushed into action. He sends her to go see Randy.
Yeah, because one of the things he's saying on the phone is it's being framed as something Randy did. So Randy was very right. He's getting the blame for this.
Right.
Wayne was like, Randy did what? Like, he burned somebody alive? What? So, yeah, Randy was definitely correct in thinking that he's going to get the blame, at least, initially.
So she drives at night and doesn't quite make it to Randy as she sees the previously on fire person. Mostly not on fire anymore. He's more like he's smoldering at this point. He ends up running off. She encounters a bunch of very confused, formerly dead people approaching her. And we end up seeing a naked man who's played by... Oh, I didn't even... Okay, I put played by...
Naked Reviver's played by Zachary Boulanger. I couldn't match him up on IMDb, so unfortunately I don't have anything to say about Zachary, but he played the Naked Reviver. We also have in this scene Old Man Reviver, who is played by Jack Cunningham, and these are based on the end credits in the episode, but they're not on IMDb yet, so again, I couldn't match him up either.
And we see the same little girl that was very dead in Randy's crematorium.
Right, and again, her name is Jordan, the character played by Flora McEnroy. And before we move on, right before she ran into all these people, we were hearing a voice on the dispatch. I don't know if you clocked her.
No.
But we've got the dispatcher, who seems like she's going to be a recurring character. The dispatcher's name is Jeannie Gorski, and she's played by Lenore Zan, who was in the film The Madones.
Okay.
With Reed Price was in that film.
Right.
T. Thomason was in that film.
Yep.
Names were very familiar here. And she does lots of voice work, including in the My Little Pony franchise. She plays the character of Starcatcher Pony.
Oh, okay.
So, and that makes sense that she's somebody who does a lot of voice work, because we see her later in a physical scene. Like, she has actual scenes, but also... we hear her voice a lot. She's the dispatcher. So whenever there's radio calls, this is who we're hearing.
Right.
So that makes sense that they picked a voice actor to play the dispatcher. And what's happening in this scene, like right before Dana sees all these people, is Jeannie's trying to give her some stuff on the radio. Like, basically stuff's happening all over town. There's all sorts of calls coming in. The radio cuts out. It's blinking in and out, like it's cutting in and out, and that'll continue to happen. That seems to have something to do with what we're dealing with. Is there some sort of break in the radio signal?
Now, I remember you being kind of confused as to how these people got out of their graves when we were initially watching this episode. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty confident that most of these people were not actually in the grave. They actually came from Randy.
Most of them came from there.
Yeah.
Because, well, we'll learn very soon that it's only people that have died in the last 2 weeks. So I think a lot of them were still in the morgue, including the little girl, Jordan, who we had seen.
Right.
And, of course, the man on fire. But some of them had to have been buried already.
Right.
So... did they, once they figured out, like, this time frame, go and dig people up? Because the people didn't dig themselves up 6 feet.
That's a good question.
But there are people who died in the last 2 weeks that have already been buried.
Right. They were like, did they hear knocking sounds?
Like, because Okay,
Do they have that bell thing that they had back in the olden days?
So right here is where we get our credits, and then
Yes.
when we come back, we've skipped forward 35 days.
Right.
So I think they're purposely not showing us this like transitional part.
You think they're going to come back to this?
I don't know if they're going to come back to it. I feel like they're glazing over these details.
Gotcha. So they don't have the answer to these questions, so they just kind of want us to not even
that's
think
not
about
the
it.
story,
Right?
Right.
Yeah,
We're focusing on the aftermath
Right.
here.
Mm.
But I feel like there had to have been some people who were already buried, and they didn't dig themselves up.
Right.
So they had to have, once they established this timeline, been like, hey, maybe we should dig up these graves
And see if anyone's still alive down there.
right. Like
I don't know. I think I kind of would want to see that scene. I think.
like there had
Right.
to have been some digging, right? There
yeah.
had to have been.
Yeah. So when we come back from the credits, as you stated, we get a news report stating it's been 35 days since Revival Day, that the lockdown has officially been lifted by the Mayor Delish, who we see on the TV. He's played by Conrad Coates. This is not a small-time actor. He has 152 acting credits, including 4 episodes of Star Trek Discovery, an episode of Smallville, and Men of the Apocalypse.
He also was in 9 episodes of Kyle XY. Do you remember
Oh,
that?
no. This is the X-Men Apocalypse. My note is just screwed up here.
Okay.
But yeah, you were saying.
He's in 9 episodes of Kyle XY.
Okay.
Do you remember that one?
Yes.
The boy without a belly button?
Yeah, we've talked about that before. It was a one-season wonder. Actually, no.
It
It
was
went,
2 or 3 seasons.
yeah, it went on for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize until we started doing this
Right.
podcast.
Right. That
Yeah.
was one of those ones that we
Yeah.
were surprised how
Right.
many episodes
Yeah,
there
yep.
were. He also was in the film Totally Killer, which is definitely in my
Watch list?
watch list for us for time travel-y and weirdness kind of horror movies.
Okay.
So we're going to probably come back to that soon because I have a list.
All right.
And he's in that. And again, the character is Mayor Dan Delish, which I think is a ridiculous name. I don't know if that's intentional.
Right.
That might come directly from the comic books.
I mean, it might.
Yeah.
The news report goes on to say that there's a registry of the revivals. 47 people have been identified from a specific 2-week period. We see a girl in the bath in her apartment. It's actually not even her apartment.
It's a dorm room.
Right. Martha, played by Rami Whiteman. 20 credits for her, including The Returned.
The film The Return
film
from
Return.
2013.
Yep.
Where in that film she played a young Emily Hampshire.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
No.
She was Stevie in Schitt's Creek.
Oh, okay.
I totally see it.
Yeah.
She played a young version of her character in that film.
Interesting.
And I was like, yeah, I can see where they kind of look a little bit alike.
All right.
Rami, of course, this is one of our main cast members.
Yep.
In this series.
Did you have anything else for her that she appeared in?
She was in 2 episodes of Slasher.
Okay.
And before we get too much into her, I just want to talk a little bit more about that TV broadcast. And again, I found this interesting editing because we started seeing the mayor in his part on I don't know if that was Dana's TV or Wayne's TV, but we were with one of them.
Right.
And then it shifted to a smaller television set for the second half of the broadcast, and that was M's TV.
Gotcha.
So we shifted scenes from wherever we were to the dorm room through the TV broadcast. And I thought that was a really cool touch.
I think I'm going to look into who did the editing on this episode because there's some
and again,
nice touches.
Is it editing or was it the directing style? Is it written that way? Like, you never know exactly
Right.
whose creative decisions these were, but it all came together like really beautifully.
Yeah.
Other things we learned that Revival Day was December 18th. And specifically, the people who came back had died between the 14th and the 18th. And the CDC has specifically said that it's not a contagion that caused it. So it's not a Walking Dead situation.
Gotcha.
In which the Walking Dead, spoiler for that series, it was a contagion that everybody's got it. That's not the case here. It's a very closed window, and they don't know why and they don't know how, and I know we're going to dig into that must be like where part of this is like what the heck happened,
Right.
why these 2 weeks specifically, what is going on, and that's why the CDC's involved. But yeah, that's all we know so far is they've confirmed it's not a contagion.
That's good news. So she's taking a bath when a friend of her returns. I don't know who this is.
Okay, this is her roommate Kay Matherin. She's played by Maya J. Bastadas. She was in 6 episodes of Gen V, and 4 episodes of In the Dark. And yes, I had a heck of a time linking all these people up to who they were. I had to watch many scenes multiple times because we also, the screeners don't have subtitles.
Right.
So you're listening for characters' names.
Right.
Right, which can be hard. And then because they're not connected on IMDb, I had to literally okay, so I have 3 different categories. I have here's their main cast,
right,
who are in opening credits. They give us the actor's name, but not who they play, right?
Right.
Then you have end credits, who are just this week's one-off people, the under 5s. And sometimes those are recurring characters, but we also don't know who's ever coming back because it's the first episode.
Right. Yeah, Internet Movie Database.
End credits are easiest because it gives you the actor and the character. But then we have guest stars. Mm-hmm. And this episode had 20 guest stars. So these are people who are listed in the opening credits, the actor's name, but not who they play.
Right.
Because they're all guest stars.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that many people listed as a guest star.
That is a lot of guest stars.
There was a
sure.
lot.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of finding them on IMDb to figure out the character name, and then figuring out who the heck was this character in the episode.
Right.
Which was a lot of work.
Yeah. Basically, she's returned. Martha has been sleeping there since the lockdown began.
Yeah, so Kay wasn't here for the lockdown.
Right.
So basically, the whole town was locked down, as in shelter in place. Don't leave your homes except for emergencies. But now the lockdown is lifted, but the town itself is still quarantined. So people can move around the town, you just can't leave the town.
Right. And despite the fact that she now has some freedom, she has elected not to go home still. And she is a sister of Dana, by the way.
Yes, so M. Her name is Martha. Her nickname is M. I'm confused how M is short for Martha.
Well, I mean, Martha is the...
M is the letter M?
I guess.
But, it's her name stylized E-M.
Right.
M. And I guess that makes sense. They just mean, the letter M.
Right.
You would be D and I would be S. But
all right, I mean, if that's what you want my nickname to be.
But it felt weird. But I
Right.
hadn't even realized that M is the letter M until you just said that. Because I'm just looking at E-M. I'm like, how is M short for Martha?
Right.
That should be short for Emily, you know?
Right, yeah. So she's very clearly troubled by something, though we don't yet know what that is exactly.
And Kay, the roommate, tells us that classes start back up tomorrow. And we learn that one of their classmates named Shelley is a reviver. And Kay wishes she had stayed dead. We don't meet Shelley in this episode, but I got a feeling we're going to eventually.
Probably. Dana, meanwhile, is making out with a very nervous stranger. We won't learn this till later, but this is Ibrahim Rahman, played by Andy McQueen. 54 credits, including A Handmaid's Tale,
Yes.
an episode of Jack Ryan, and the movie Fahrenheit 451.
He also was in 8 episodes of The Outer Banks and Books of Blood.
He wants to get to know her, talk about their jobs. She just wants to make out and engage in carnal activities.
Yeah, so yeah, they met at this bar, right? They met at Nella's pub, specifically. And remember, they've been in lockdown for 35 days.
Yes, so she hasn't been getting any.
Exactly. And it's when she brings him into her police cruiser.
Right.
And that's when he was like, wait, should we talk about, our jobs? And we're going to find out later, why he's saying that.
Yes.
It's relevant. But
yes.
She doesn't care. She doesn't want to know who this is. She's like, just shut up and take your clothes off.
She doesn't plan to see this guy ever again. She gets a call from her boss, a.k.a. her dad.
A.k.a. also her babysitter.
Right.
Because he's with Cooper.
To go and check something out. So their evening is awkwardly cut short.
And Dana's not happy about this call, but Dad's
No.
basically like, I need you to go do your job. You're still a police officer.
Right.
But remember, she's trying to quit, but
Right.
because she's been quarantined here, she's still working as a cop.
So I'm thinking she's going to be trying to quit for the remainder of the series, probably.
Well, we'll learn later she doesn't have anywhere to go anymore.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is
that's
sad.
right.
That's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, her dad tells her that Lester found a dead horse and she has to go figure out whose horse it is. But she doesn't want to do this, but she does. She steps up and does her job and she kicks him out of the car. He's looking to get her number, but she just doesn't care. She drives off.
Yep. So she finds the dead horse, and there's some teeth that look like human teeth at the scene. She ends up getting snuck up on by an elderly guy that she knows, Lester, who wants to know what she thinks about the dead horse. And he's played by Peter Millard. 33 credits for him, including Tech War, the William Shatner created show. My Secret Identity with Jerry O'Connell from Sliders, and What to Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
One episode of that, and one episode of Fellow Travelers as well. We learn a couple things about Lester. I think he's going to be a recurring character. He is listed as a guest star. But we learn he's 82 years old, and we know he's rich. Because Dana had said in the previous scene, like, it's not my job to go clean up rich people's dead horses. So he's rich. He mentions that he's an author. He's written some books. He's talking to her about what she eats. So I think he writes either self-help books or something about health or self-care or maybe even cooking, something in that field. So he's into health in some fashion and writes books and has a lot of money because of it.
All right. So
and she specifically sees tracks.
Yep.
And she asks him, "Hey, did you drive your truck here?" And he's like, "Yeah." So she assumes those are his truck tracks. That's going to come back later.
All right. So the next morning, we see the mayor on TV saying it's safe to leave their homes. Dana is getting ready to go to school and yells at Cooper, basically get ready for school, but he's already downstairs, completely dressed and even in a coat.
I noticed the establishing shot of her house. There is a for lease sign in the yard.
Interesting.
So she hasn't removed that sign. She's actively trying to skip town, right?
Gotcha.
The for lease sign had an area code on it. The phone number to call was a 512 area code, which is actually, I looked it up. It's a Texas area code.
Interesting.
But this is taking place in Wausau, Wisconsin.
I mean, that's pretty common for television shows.
So they didn't bother placing the right area code or a fictional one. They placed an actual area code for Texas, which is
weird.
Silly.
Okay.
And during all of this, did you mention there's news on the TV?
Yes. Yep.
So the mayor in this TV broadcast is interviewing a reviver named Damon Manning. Damon is played by Pat Thornton. He was in 12 episodes of Satisfaction, 1 episode of Warehouse 13. And he is describing to the mayor in this little interview what it was like to die and come back to life.
One of the things he says is basically like he doesn't remember dying.
He says he had a shooting pain in his arm. It sounds like he's describing having a heart attack.
Yeah.
He said he had a shooting pain in his arm. Everything went black, and then he woke up. So no time had passed for him. He has no memories of actually dying or what happened in between.
Right.
He just went from having a shooting pain to waking up wherever he woke up.
Which means maybe perhaps he had some after death experiences that he simply doesn't remember, or maybe really life is just you fade to black and that's it.
I'm sure we're going to get into that some more.
Yeah.
We also learned that Damon is a butcher. I don't know if he's ever going to come back or that's going to be important again, but we learned that fact here if we ever meet the butcher again. I don't know.
All right, so in class, Cooper gets a crumpled up picture of one of his classmates' lap. I'm not sure what this is about, but it's a picture of the girl next to him.
So the kids are teasing her. Somebody drew this picture and wrote zombie on it.
So why are they sending it to...
I think they were just throwing it around and
okay, so they weren't specifically sending it to him?
No, I think it was going around the class and everybody's looking at it and laughing.
I didn't...
And he intercepted it.
Right, I didn't understand why he was specifically getting this picture.
Yeah, I think it was just being tossed around.
Okay.
And everybody's laughing and gossiping about Jordan.
And Jordan's basically like, that doesn't look like me at all.
And he tells her he's glad that she's back. So Cooper's going to be her ally in this when all the other kids are like, dead girl, we don't want you here.
Right. And I'm actually kind of curious how people would actually react to this situation, whether they would act like these kids are. Or...
I don't think this is how they'd act. I think they might be scared.
Right. Yeah. So we go to the police station, which is alive with activity. We're
going to meet a lot of people here.
Yeah.
I identified all of them, I think.
Okay. I'm not totally sure what was going on here, but we see Mrs. Shaw. She's played by Jill Frappier. 101 credits for her, including some voice work, some Holiday Fair, and Tech War.
She was in a bunch of Christmas movies, one episode of Schitt's Creek. 134 episodes of Sailor Moon included in her voice work.
And she's trying to see if her husband revived, but he died before the event took place.
Yeah, he died one day too early. It was only people that died from the 4th through whatever day that was that came back. He died on the 3rd. So this is Jeannie. We already talked about her. She's the dispatcher telling her, like, I'm sorry, but I don't know what you want me to do about it.
Right, yeah.
Also in this scene, we met 2 townspeople. The man wants to know why they're trapped here. So there's a whole crowd of people. Like, basically, the town's here complaining and bitching.
Yeah.
Now that they finally are allowed out of their houses, they're at the police station complaining. Nobody's happy, right?
Yep.
So a man wants to know why they're trapped here with the freaks. like he's like, gotta get rid of these people, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure this is townsperson number 1, played by Miguel Gallego. Couldn't match him up on IMDb. And then a woman wants to report, because on the news it was like, report if you find out any, because they know of 47, but they're like, let us know if you find any more revivers. Like, we want to know. So she's here to report that somebody she knows, she thinks she's a reviver because she's like, she wears all black and she's really pale. She's got to be a reviver.
Right.
And Dana says, that's just Tina. That's how she always dresses. And this woman, I'm pretty sure, is townsperson number 2, played by Sarah Mullen. Again, I couldn't match her up on IMDb.
And we see a deputy in the scene, Deputy McCrae, played by Nathan Hales. He looks familiar to me, but he has 17 credits, including Fringe and a couple episodes of Supernatural. I'm not sure where I recognize him from.
I have his name as Nathan Dales with a D.
You're probably right.
One of us is. It could be a typo.
Yeah.
It could be a typo on my behalf.
All right, well, we'll check into that next week.
He was also in all 81 episodes of Letterkenny, which is a Canadian series that I don't know much about. Their interaction is he's kind of a jackass, is what I gather. He asks her if she caught her horse killer yet, because that's her big case.
Yep.
And she tells him to go brush his teeth. Apparently, he has stinky breath.
That's unfortunate
That's
for him.
my note for him. He's the deputy with the bad breath.
All right.
And she had taken a donut from that Jeannie had given her. She's turned off now because of the bad breath, so she hands over the half-eaten donut to who I'm thinking is her partner.
Something like that?
This is Deputy Brent Carlisle. He's in the desk next to hers, and I feel like he's going to be a recurring character.
Probably. So Dana, we weren't as in the dark about what's been going on.
Right. So there's a task force that's dealing with the revivers. She's not on the task force.
I mean, she's trying to quit. Do you really blame her father for not putting
her?
Including her?
But she's not in the know.
Right.
She's just dealing with like a horse situation, which they don't know at this point has anything to do with the revivers.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, there's a dead animal. Like, whatever.
Call animal control. Be done with it.
So this, again, I think it's her partner, Deputy Brent Carlisle. He's played by Mark Little. He was in 87 episodes of Mr. D, and he's done some voice work.
All right, so she's told that her father is in with the mayor and the new guy from the CDC, and we hear a lot of arguing going on around there.
And this information comes from 2 more deputies. The female deputy is Deputy Rogers. She's played by Arielle Morrison. She only has 5 total acting credits, including 4 episodes of a show called Montrogue. And then this other male deputy is J.P. Brissett, played by Glenn Gould. He was in 3 episodes of Outlander, 4 episodes of The Strain, 1 episode of 4400. And, so they tell her there's a new guy, and she's like, how's there a new guy? Like, we're in quarantine.
Right, yeah.
But Deputy, I think it was Deputy Rogers, is like, I don't know, but he's a cutie patootie.
Yep.
So she starts like straightening herself out. She's going to go in to talk to her dad because she wants the information. She wants the reviver registry is what she's trying to get.
And I'm going to point out at this point when we're watching this series, we watched the first episode together, which is not common, by the way. We don't do that often. That you had already pretty much called out the plot to it. I mean, basically we both did that. But when it comes to watching television shows, we watch so many.
And we dig into it so deep.
Yeah.
And things become very predictable to us.
Right. Like when The Handmaid's Tale, which recently concluded its run in its penultimate episode, I'm watching a beginning scene with the Bradley Whitford character and going, dead, he's going to be dead by the end of the episode, just by the way that scene played out in the beginning. And sure enough, I turned out to be right. But yeah, so moving on. She goes into the office. Her father is arguing with the mayor. I'm not sure totally what the issue is.
Okay,
but...
they're arguing about the TV interview he did with a reviver.
Okay.
Basically, the take is Wayne, her dad,
yes,
doesn't want the revivers here. He doesn't trust them. He thinks they're dangerous. He wants them rounded up and thrown out of his town.
That's craziness.
Which is an important detail to know.
Yes.
I did not even pick up on that my first time watching this episode. I picked that up on rewatch when I was taking my notes.
Yeah.
Delish, he's like, I'm trying to convince everybody that they're not dangerous and we all need to live happily ever after together.
So there's almost like a racism parable here, or like a prejudice, I should say.
Some
not
sort
racism.
of prejudice,
yeah,
right? Because they don't know
Yeah.
that there's any reason to have a problem with them.
Right, yeah.
We don't know much about them at all yet.
No.
Now, we're going to learn things pretty soon, but...
Yeah. So, basically, the mayor leaves. She, interestingly enough, the mayor knows Dana. And
I mean, it's a small town.
Right, of
and
course.
She's the sheriff's daughter.
Right. So we find out who the person from the CDC is.
Because he's also in the room. She didn't
Right.
realize he was there.
Yep.
And then she sees him, recognizes him.
Right, as Abraham, rather. They pretend not to know each other and act awkward. He says he's only been there a couple of days and needs time to figure out what caused the event. And as he talks, Dana ends up stealing a file.
She steals, and I totally didn't know what was going on again the first
Right.
time watching this. On rewatch, I realized she's stealing the Reviver registry.
Right.
So this is the list of the 47 names, which is top secret. Only the task force has access to it, which she is not on. But she, for some reason, thinks this is pertinent to the horse case. She's right.
She
but I
is.
don't know where she got that idea from.
The human teeth, maybe? So, Abraham is dismissed, and basically her dad immediately asks, "Are you sleeping with him?" And then, she gets really offended by the question in this comical kind of way.
Yeah, she's like, Dad.
And he's basically like, moving along, don't care.
Which is funny, because technically the answer's no.
Right.
She could have just said no.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, he definitely picked up on the we know each other already vibes between them.
Right. So she says he wants a report on the horse.
Horse.
She says she doesn't know where it came from, and she's told to hurry up and,
And Randy,
solve,
the coroner, is working on the necropsy.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming is just the word for an animal autopsy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never actually heard the term before.
And it must be a small town that you have the
Right.
same dude, the human coroner, working on a horse.
Right.
Like they don't have a vet in town.
I don't know. After the event, are you sure he's competent? Are you sure you want him
It
doing
wasn't his fault!
I know. So she goes back to her desk and then looks at the file she stole. She hears the phone ring, and it's from her prospective employer, the one that was trying to hire her, with some bad news. They can't hold the position for her any longer.
Yeah, and this was a security job in Chicago, is where she was trying to go. But they gave the job to somebody else because it's been 35 days.
Right. Randy visits the station, and Dana is not impressed with his sense of humor, but he's there to tell her that he lost the horse. We cut to the school with a professor.
The CDC came to take the horse away.
Oh, okay. I thought he meant he actually literally lost
He
the
didn't
horse.
physically not know where it is. He lost it as in the CDC took it from him.
Okay.
So she's like, you might want to go talk to the CDC. Now this story would have made more sense if she learned that before she went to steal the file.
Right.
It would have given us a reason why she thinks the revivers are involved.
Right. That makes sense.
But they didn't do it that way.
All right. So we get to the school with a professor or counselor who announces to the assembled people that he can't meet with any more people for the day. This must be the guy credited as Professor Aaron Weiner, played by Gianpaolo Benta, maybe, possibly? Benuta, okay. 60 credits for him, including The Words, 9 episodes of The Firm, and 17 episodes of Being Human.
I like that series.
Which is funny, because the first time I heard about that series is when you texted me, I missed Being Human. And I'm like, what do you mean you miss Being Human? So I was really confused when you mentioned that to me.
It's another one that's got two different versions. There's a British version of that show and a North American version. They're both really good.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He also was in 2 episodes of Lock and Key.
So he has a big conversation with Martha, who he tries to brush off, but she makes him promise to have a conversation later. All right, so the question here is, Is this a lover, a person who murdered her, or both?
Yeah, my take, and
Yeah.
I mean, you know this because we talked about it when we were watching the episode together. Immediately after the scene, I went, okay, so they're having an affair and he killed her.
Yes.
That was my take.
Yes.
And, I mean, I don't know. We don't learn that in this episode, but it could be.
I mean, it makes sense.
It's still a possibility. I definitely 100% am positive they're having an affair.
Yeah.
Or they were.
Yeah.
And he blew her off at some point.
Yep, it definitely ended
We
badly.
know not only is he her professor, but he is married. He's wearing a ring.
Yeah.
And he does not want to talk to her.
Yeah.
Right. So they agreed to meet tonight at 7 at their place. That's not going to go well.
Nope.
We're going to learn he stands her up. So, yeah, I don't trust Professor Weimer.
Neither do I.
I don't know much about him yet, but that's my initial take.
He definitely seems a little shady. So Dana goes and sees Abraham, and they are once again awkward.
And this is at the CDC lab, which seems to be taking place at a school gym, is where they're set up.
Right. They must have, come in from out of town despite the quarantine.
CDC,
yeah.
I mean, the CDC is who quarantined the town,
Right,
so
yeah.
they can do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. He ends up showing her the revival tissue, which, when he cuts it, it ends up healing itself. And she shows him the teeth that she has, and it turns out that he also has teeth as well, and it turns out that it's the same set of teeth from the same source, so they believe that this is basically a reviver who's losing the teeth and then regrowing them.
Yeah, so I want to rehash just some of that. Also, the railroad spike. You skipped over that.
Yeah.
So she's playing with this railroad spike, and he's like, that's evidence, stop it. And she's like, evidence is usually kept in a bag, and she just keeps playing with it. So we're getting, they have this playful little banter already.
Yeah.
Anyways, the teeth. It's not just teeth from the same person. They're literally the same teeth.
I didn't say that.
I mean, you said it sort of, but
right, I gotcha.
It's a complicated
gotcha.
thing.
Yeah.
That it's not like, oh yeah, these are teeth from the same person. He looked at it in the microscope and went, these are the same teeth.
Right, yes.
They're literally a copy of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find it a little weird that he would know that just by looking at a tooth in a microscope that quickly.
Yeah, I don't know how any of that works.
How would you even know it's the same person? It's a tooth, let alone literally the same teeth.
Right.
I would think that would need further study than just looking at it for
Is
a
there
second in a microscope.
DNA or something in teeth that you can see? Or
I mean, not see in a microscope. That's not how DNA works. Which is when he shows her the tissue thing. And he's like, this is a secret. If I tell you this, you have to keep it between us. In other words, she's not supposed to know this. The only people who know this are the CDC, possibly the task force that she's not on. He could get a lot of trouble for letting her in on any of this.
Right.
But this is when he shows her the tissue, and this is where we, as the audience, is being told, you can't kill them.
Right.
They literally say that in this scene. Any pre-existing conditions before they died exist still.
Okay.
So if they had scars or cuts, they still have them.
How about a deadly disease?
I mean, that's a question.
Right. If they have cancer, do they still have cancer?
That's something that I have to talk about later.
Right. I mean, if they die from cancer, for instance, they still have that same cancer? when they became revived, rather?
I'm sure they don't know much yet.
Right.
But any damage to their tissue, their cells, after being revived, just heals itself.
Gotcha.
Pretty instantaneously based on this. And he does mention that the rate of healing depends on how intense the wound is.
Okay.
Or something. He used more scientific words than that.
Right.
That's what he meant.
Okay. Yeah, I had trouble following some of this stuff, but yeah.
And this is important stuff. This is the basis of the show, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Is how this works, right? My question was, what if someone got mauled right before dying? You weren't dead yet.
Right.
Until you were dead. But if it was the injuries itself that killed you, how would you come back? Would
you be like a moving hand and then... then your foot is moving off in this direction.
But you know what I mean? I mean, I guess they don't have that situation, is how we're dealing with that. But,
right.
If you died in in some sort of physical
exploded,
accident,
right.
You weren't dead until the moment you were dead.
If you went a splat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point here is the teeth regrew.
Right.
So someone, this is how they're positive it's a reviver, lost their teeth, and the teeth grew back, and then they lost them again.
Right.
At the same scene, which is creepy and weird to think about.
And we're going to get to see that play out.
We are.
Yes.
We are.
So, Danny is on the...
And she calls Lester
Right.
to ask about his truck. Because remember, she had assumed those tracks were his.
Mm.
He tells her what his truck is. She's like, it wasn't his tracks. Those tracks came from somebody who brought the horse here.
Gotcha.
So their whole hypothesis now is that a reviver,
Yeah.
killed the horse, and the horse was then brought to the woods to make it look like the reviver didn't kill the horse, because they wanted the animals in the woods to eat the horse and hide the evidence. They're not trying to hide a horse. They're trying to hide a reviver.
Ah.
And that's what she's after, is what reviver killed a horse.
Well, maybe they should have taken the teeth with them.
Well,
All right.
Yeah.
So Dana is on the hunt for a person in her file, which is a revival that was a dangerous criminal and I believe put to death or something along those lines.
No.
No?
Although that would have been a better story, probably.
Okay.
If he was actually executed.
Gotcha.
He is. It was a name that spoke to her when she was looking through the file. His name is Miles Miller. He was a convicted criminal. I'm having a hard time finding this in my notes because I think you skipped a bunch of stuff that I have in my notes.
Okay.
She's talking to Brent on the phone.
Okay.
And she's like, how do we know there's only 47 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't there be... And I just want to bring this up because it is important later. She's like, how do we know someone didn't just die in their sleep, wake up, and they don't even know they're a reviver?
Right.
So she's asking the questions.
Yes.
Right? Just because we know there were 47 corpses that came back doesn't mean that's all the revivers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is while she starts talking about Miles Miller. She's looking at his file. And she says, he's the only one we know of with a violent history. He was serving a life sentence. He did die in prison.
Okay.
He wasn't executed, though.
Oh, okay.
He died of a stroke in prison.
Gotcha.
So he was in the middle of a life sentence, died of a stroke. Came back. Now he's missing. He can't be found. He's on the run.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking for him. It's a manhunt situation. My question is, if someone is serving a life sentence and then they die, did he technically serve his sentence?
Well, life sentences are usually like a certain amount of years.
Yeah, but his life ended. He died.
Right. I mean, life sentence isn't necessarily a life sentence. Like, I don't know how many the actual years is, but it would be, like, let's say you have 30 years and you only did like 15 of them, then you haven't really fulfilled your sentence if you come back to life, I guess.
Sure, but he died.
Right.
Life ended.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they've never encountered that specific situation, so I don't know that they have a means to actually deal with that question.
It feels like an interesting legal dilemma.
Yeah.
Anyways, she thinks that he must be the horse killer because he's violent.
Right.
Okay. That's we'll get back to him later.
All right. So Martha meets at the spot, which I guess is where she's supposed to meet her professor. He doesn't show up, so she ends up calling her dad at home. She's upset. He wants to know where she's been, and he mentions her condition, which is curious.
Yes,
at first,
that's going to come up
right.
a few more times.
Right.
I have a lot to say about this.
All right. So at first, when I'm hearing him say condition, I assume, based on how this episode ends, spoiler alert, I mean, I'm assuming you've watched this episode.
I mean, we told you to.
Right. We did. We did warn you. I thought that he meant that he knew that she died.
Yeah.
But based on how this episode ends...
And based on the title of the episode,
Right.
Don't Tell Dad.
Right. That's not the case.
She doesn't know this yet. No,
Yeah.
she has some sort of a underlying health condition.
So I'm kind of curious.
Which we're going to get hints at, but nobody directly told us anything yet. We get a few hints of that. Basically, in this scene, what he said is, you cannot be running wild in your condition.
Right. So she died, and nobody else seems to know about it. Like, her dad didn't know. Her sister didn't know. The professor probably knows.
Well,
because
we don't know.
I mean, maybe not.
We don't even know, honestly, if she knows at this point.
Right. I mean, she does know, because at the end of the episode...
she knows, but did she know before that?
Right.
I mean, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know much. It's a mystery. I think it's part of our central, like, what is going on here.
Right. All right, so Dana goes to investigate, looking for this killer at night. So she's trying to find this person.
She goes to old railroad tracks, because the CDC guy had told her, like, that this railroad spike was found. It was part of the trap that there was, I don't know if we even mentioned, there was a coyote in a trap near the horse, and that's where the teeth were. And this railroad spike was part of the trap. So she goes to a place where, and it was a very old spike, like the kind used in that weird flashback scene in the dude's eye.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years old railroad spike. So she goes to this old, out of use railroad track, and she's looking at the spikes there, and she's like, yeah, these are the same kind of spikes.
And she finds a house. She goes in to investigate the house.
Call it a house. It was like
a shack.
6-foot shack in the middle of the woods.
All right, but somebody's living there, so, you know.
Well, here's another little great editing is they focus on an axe. There's a campfire. Yeah. The fire's active. She sees the smoke. That's how she knows which direction to go to find this thing. There's traps with dead animals, indicating that was his trap, by the way.
Yeah.
Is what we're looking at here. The camera focuses on an axe. She looks in the shack just for a second, comes back out. The axe is missing.
Whoa.
So, and it was a really beautiful shot. Like, it was all like one pan. Like, the axe is there. We follow her in, and then we pan back out, and the axe is missing.
Nice.
I as we're talking about it, I can really appreciate, like, all of the cinematography and editing in this episode.
Well, I mean, definitely some of that comes down to Amanda Rowe, the director of this episode. That shot specifically would have been a director's decision. As far as the other editing, and would that be a director's decision? I'm not sure, but yeah, there's definitely some beautiful stuff in this episode. Well done. Definitely something that of higher quality than I would expect from the SyFy channel.
Well, I mean, it's NBCUniversal.
Yeah.
Who owns SyFy.
Right.
And, they've, the last little while, they've had some decent originals. It's not the same SyFy channel that
I remember that was basically mostly
where
crap.
They put, the stuff to die.
Right.
Like Snyder.
Right, yeah.
This isn't that. These aren't rejects. These are first run, new content.
Okay. So, she ends up getting attacked, and they duke it out, but he ends up getting caught in his own trap. She thinks was the one responsible for the horse, but his teeth do not grow back.
Right. He has rotten, missing teeth, and she realizes that's a pre-existing condition.
Right.
We confirm he's a reviver because he comes out of the trap and his arm heals.
Right. Yeah. He magically heals.
She IDs him as Miles Miller, the missing convict. She cuffs him. Mm-hmm. But he seems to really not know what she's talking about, a horse.
Right.
So he is Miles Miller.
Yep.
But he's not the horse killer.
Right.
Miles Miller was played by Josh Crudis. He was in 9 episodes of Billy the Kid, 3 episodes of Future Man, 1 episode of 11/22/63, and he has 33 composer credits of all things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
11/23/63 is another series.
11/22/63.
Yes, that series is another series that we will probably cover, and by then I hope I get the numbers right. But so Dana leaves her son with her dad, is told not to give her too much sugar. He ribs her for going to get donuts the minute she leaves. She claims he doesn't know her, but that's exactly what she does. She goes and gets the donuts. She's eating chocolate glazed donuts. I can see that me and her would get along because I also happen to really like chocolate glazed donuts.
Oh, that's great information.
I know. I thought
Everybody send Dave some donuts. No, you don't need to do that. He has enough donuts in his
right,
life.
Yeah.
Send him some money.
I mean, yeah. It depends on where you're coming from. If you're sending them from Nova Scotia, for instance, I might not like them too much when they get to me.
Nova Scotia's not that far away.
No? Okay.
So 2 days in the mail.
So she stumbles upon her sister who's sleeping on a parked bench. She ends up picking her up and giving her help, or like,
and she says how risky it is for her to be out here like this.
Right.
And my note is, what is this girl's ailment?
Right. I mean, it is pretty risky to be sleeping out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but that's
anyway.
not what she meant.
Right. No.
There's more to it than that.
So they end up reconnecting and talking some more and seemingly bonding. And then Wayne gets a call.
Okay, well, before that, I have a lot of things to say about this conversation.
All right.
Skipping over.
All right.
Another reference to her condition is, so Em had asked her to give her a ride home to the dorm. And then she told her about the horse. And she's like, well, let me tag along with you and keep you company while you, investigate your case. And Dana says, no, I got to get you back to the dorm before you break a femur or something.
That would seem to be an indication that she has something kind of like the character in Glass had, where, you have the brittle bone syndrome or something.
She has to have something, right? That involves bone fragility.
Yeah.
It could be some sort of immune system disease, leukemia, lupus. She has something.
According to Dr. House, it's never lupus.
Sometimes it's lupus. She has something bad.
Right.
Something bad that they literally think her bones are going to break. And when they say it's not safe for you to be out here, they literally mean, like, you could die because you're, like, not being careful with yourself.
Yeah.
So they have reasons to worry about her other than we just haven't heard from you in a month.
Right.
Like, it's not like, yeah, you're in college in the same town, but we expect to hear from you. It's like there's something else going on there. Some reason that her family is overprotective of her. And probably also why she's a little more rebellious from them, because she doesn't like being this,
micromanage, so to speak.
She's like, I'm an adult now, I'm in college, and I can handle myself.
Right.
Although, obviously, she can't, because she got herself involved in something.
And then she died.
They eat the donuts, and Em talks about the first time she watched Evil Dead 2, which is when Dana broke up with Derek for the first time, and Mom brought them a whole box of donuts. And Dana remembers this. It was the first time she caught Derek cheating on her. And she swore at that point she was going to leave town for good. But 10 years later, and she's still here.
I can relate.
I think the assumption is that Derek is Cooper's father.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think that's about tracks with when she would have gotten pregnant.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And the girls were planning a trip to Myrtle Beach, but they mentioned Dana's pregnancy, and they mention life happened. So I'm thinking this is when Em got diagnosed also with whatever she's dealing with.
Okay.
And they never took their trip.
Oh, well, that's sad.
So Dana says, well, once this quarantine lifts, how about we take an adventure together? And they agree, and they're like, let's go plan it right now.
Okay.
So they're trying to get out of town together now to have an adventure.
And of course, that's never going to happen.
I mean, it might happen eventually.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen anytime soon, because we got a whole series to do first.
Right.
When Dana slams on the brakes, because we don't know this yet, but she saw a truck that matched the description. Miles, what was his name? Miles Miller was like, I don't know anything about a horse, but he mentioned, I saw a red truck with a tarp on it. So Dana sees a red truck with a tarp on it, which is why she stopped.
All right, so Wayne gets a call and has to go find out what's going on at Mrs. Shaw's house. So Cooper has to come along, and for the rest of this episode, we're going to be basically cutting back between Wayne and Dana.
Back and forth between what's happening with Dana, what's happening with Wayne. Really good cuts, really good editing.
Yes.
Again, I don't know who did it, but it's good.
I will look that up next week and let you know. And we'll talk about it, when we do the next podcast. Dana's attention is attracted to the farm with a truck which has a tarp over it. She talks to the two farmers who insist there's nothing to see here.
Yeah, so this is Bob Dittman, played by Derek McGrath. He's in the movie Thanksgiving which is, of course, on our holiday list eventually.
Right. We wanted to cover it last year, but it didn't work out.
1 episode of The Good Doctor, 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager he was on. And the wife, Terry Dittman, is played by Nora McGellar. She was in 34 episodes of Son of a Critch, which I think was just renewed for another season.
Sweet.
7 episodes of Killjoy, and an episode of X-Files.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't look into either one of them. I couldn't quite spot them with the time that I had.
Yeah,
but
the credits were difficult for us on this
one.
Being not only a new series, but nothing connected on IMDb yet was challenging.
Either way, they're not going to be relevant next week.
I mean, they could be. I don't know.
We actually don't know.
We don't really know much.
Yeah. Right. So Wayne leaves Cooper in the car as he goes and talks to Mrs. Shaw. She's standing at the doorway, and she's acting very sus. Her fingers are also, like, dark.
Yeah, she's dirty. It's dirt.
At first, I thought she was, like, gangrene or something and was about to lose her hand or something.
So Wayne was called to go here because the neighbors heard yelling coming from her house.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm here to do a well check. Like, is everything okay in there? And remember, this is the woman whose husband died a day too early.
Right.
Now, watching this the first time, I had assumed her husband came back to life, and they're arguing, and maybe the timer is extending. Don't mind what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I just got a Charlie horse I'm dealing with.
Okay. I thought you just decided to dance, you know? So, Dana investigates a noise she hears on the farm. The farmers try to stop her from going to investigate. And meanwhile, Wayne is investigating the house at the same time. Cooper's attention is... Is it Cooper?
Cooper, the kid, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he was told to stay in the car, but something...
starts groaning and growling.
Yeah, he hears something and rolls the window down and looks shocked.
Right.
We don't see what he sees.
Right. Presumably, we'll find out next week.
I presume so.
Wayne finds Mrs. Shaw's husband very dead and very decomposed in her kitchen. She dug him up, but he is still very, very dead, and not smelling too good.
And she's like, he's so stubborn that he hasn't come back yet. She's completely convinced her husband's to come back. I feel for this woman. It's heartbreaking.
Right.
But this dude died 6-7 weeks ago at this point. Yeah. That can't smell good.
No.
But my thought was, and I know I said this when we first watched the episode, is I don't feel like this little old woman dug him up by herself and dragged him home.
So who do you think did it?
I don't know, but I don't feel like she would have been physically capable of doing that.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know, but I feel like someone helped her. Like, she definitely was hands-on. She's covered in dirt. The house is covered in dirt. But how did this little old woman dig up her husband and drag him home? He is bigger than her.
Maybe she died from broken heart syndrome and she now has reviver powers of some kind.
I mean,
she could be a reviver.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Could be.
All right.
Well, let's keep that in mind.
All right. In
the barn, Dana finds some teeth on the floor.
Yep. And she ends up getting attacked by an elderly woman. I have no idea what's going on with this character. She's very creepy, walking around like a zombie, which none of the other revivers are acting like this.
Right. This one is different.
Right. And, she's like...
The character's name, which we didn't hear in the episode, but the character's name is Arlene Stankowitz. There's a lot of letters in there. She's played by Nikki Gard. Oh my goodness, Nikki Gardagni. That's my best guess there.
All right.
She was in 2 episodes of The Handmaid's Tale. She played an aunt.
Okay.
She was in the movie Silent Hill, and she was also in Storm of the Century.
Okay, yeah, and that's another movie that's I might want to cover.
We got such a list.
Well, actually, it's a mini series, but that was a pretty well done Stephen King property.
Yes. Speaking of Stephen King properties,
yeah.
Stay tuned because we have another new series starting next month.
Oh yes, The Institute.
Oh my goodness,
we're gonna be quite busy.
We're gonna be so busy.
Yes.
Arlene is different, right? She is a zombie, basically, for all intents and purposes.
It's also weird. It seems like she's just losing teeth on a constant basis.
She's like pulling her teeth out of her mouth, and they're instantly growing back, and she's throwing them on the floor.
Hey, listen. Just because your teeth can grow back doesn't mean you need to constantly pull them out.
I mean, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So both the farmers end up getting killed.
So they're
Presumably,
trying. So
yeah.
Dana pulls her gun,
Yeah.
right, on this strong reviver,
Right.
Who clearly is. This is who killed the horse,
Right.
and these Dittmans were trying to cover it up. Like
Right.
that's clearly the situation here. They pull. They're like trying to get in the way. They're like, "Don't shoot her! You know, she doesn't know what she's doing," because they're trying to protect her. And Mrs. Dittman goes over, and Arlene just tosses her against the wall. She goes through a spike on the wall, and so she's dead.
Presumably.
I mean, she's dead either way.
Oh, yeah.
Then Arlene attacks Dana. Mr. Dittman comes over, tries to pull her off. Arlene tosses him too. I don't know if we saw exactly what happened with him.
Oh, so he might still be alive.
I'm not sure that we did. I don't have in my notes exactly what happened to him after being tossed.
Right.
The woman, we definitely saw, like, a spike went through her body.
Yeah, no, she's very dead.
I don't know if we actually saw follow-up on Mr. Dittman.
Mm-hmm. Martha ends up getting involved.
Right, so she was waiting in the car, but
Right.
she heard the struggle. She came in. She comes up behind Arlene with a scythe, but Arlene's very strong.
Yes.
Takes it away from her and stabs Martha
Right.
with the scythe.
Right.
So she now has a giant hole in her torso.
Yeah, and I'm sure that didn't feel very good. And, you know, at this point, you know, Dana thinks that her sister is dead
Right.
for real. But we kind of figure at this point that she's not. Dana seems to be next. But then the elderly woman's head gets cut off. And the person who's responsible for that is a very healed Martha. Her shirt is still torn, but her stomach is slowly
Like,
healing.
yeah, you can see, like, something happening where
Right.
she's healing.
Yeah.
She had chopped the entire top of Arlene's head off.
Right.
Not half her head, but, like, the top
Right.
with the scythe.
So presumably, because she's a revival, she will come back to life. But it
But
might...
I'm thinking it might take longer.
Right.
Because Abraham gave us that
Yeah.
quote about it depends on how severe the damage is.
Yeah, losing the top half of your head is pretty severe.
That whole thing has to grow back, right?
Right, yeah.
So it's not like reconnecting. It's like
Yeah.
gotta grow.
Right.
So it might take a few minutes.
Yeah.
For a while.
Maybe a couple days. Who knows? I don't know how long it takes to regrow a
But
head.
M healed pretty fast from
Yeah.
a mortal wound.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and she gives the line, which is the name of the episode title.
Don't tell Dad. Which indicates once again that nobody was aware the fact that she was dead and a revival.
Right. And we skipped one thing during this back and forth that I want to go back to because I think this is where we're going to pick up next week. When Wayne left Mrs. Shaw's house, he's on the phone saying that he's calling for the coroner. When he gets to the vehicle, he sees that the car door is open and Cooper is gone.
Right.
So Cooper's not in the car. He thinks his grandson is missing now. We don't know what Cooper saw, but he got out of the car to go investigate it. So I think that's where we're going to pick up their story. Obviously, is Cooper is missing
Right.
for a moment. I don't think it's going to end up being anything bad, but
Anything major.
that's where we left those characters.
Right. Yeah, so interesting beginning of the series. No idea where it's going, what this character at the end of the episode is all about. Like, why is she a zombie and nobody else is?
Right. There's something different about her.
Is she even? Well, I mean, she has super strength. It's
She
not
has
even
super strength.
right. I don't think we've demonstrated that anybody else.
Right, not that we know of.
Has super strength. But,
So is this kind of like the 4400?
right,
Where some of the characters came back with superpowers?
right.
Are there going to be different powers that different people have? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are we dealing with here?
Right.
Are they, like, improved somehow when they came back? But
Right.
they're all going to have something different. But also, like, not only is she super strong, but she wasn't all there.
She was insane.
But maybe she was to begin with.
I mean, that's quite possible.
Maybe she was, very deep in dementia.
Right, and then she died.
And that's who she is now.
Yeah.
Except also, like, super strong.
Right. I mean, it's quite possible it was like Alzheimer's or something,
Yeah.
and most of her memory was gone. She died, and then she came back.
Right.
That can't be a good situation.
Right.
Especially since the damage that was already done is done.
So I'm sure she's coming back.
Yeah.
Because it'd be weird if she didn't.
Right.
So I'm sure we're going to learn more about her and study her and try and figure her out.
Right.
And I'm wondering if Mr. Dittman is still around, too, because I feel like we need a character to fill us in on who the frick Arlene is and give us some story.
Right.
And maybe, possibly even Mrs. Dittman, because we don't know. She could be a reviver. They could have all died in their sleep and came back.
Right. Yeah, we don't know.
Like, at this point, anybody can come back to life. Not because people are still coming back to life, but because they could have already died once and we don't know it.
And we don't know that this event that took place is not going to reoccur.
Right. We also don't know that.
Right.
Is this Mrs. Shaw's husband going to come back from a day earlier? Like, is the window going to widen at some point?
Right.
Did people that died after Revival Day? Have we talked about anybody that's died after Revival Day? People had to have died in the 35 weeks. If 40-something people died in those 2 weeks, a lot of people had to die in the 35 days.
Right.
But none of them came back?
Yeah.
Maybe they will. Or like, we don't, like, there's questions.
Right.
There's a lot of questions. I do have a couple of actors I wasn't able to match up with who they were, so let me go through them quickly. One is the character of Jamie Hine, played by Karen Knox, and she was actually listed in the opening credits as a guest star, but I could not figure out who she was.
Okay.
Jamie Hine was the character. Karen Knox was in 2 episodes of Surreal Estate. She was in the movie Winona Earp Vengeance.
Okay.
With Melanie.
So that's a whole franchise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was in 1 episode of Slasher.
Okay.
And then we have 3 people just from the end credits. Carla Morell, played by Paige Evans. She was in the film's Fatal Family Reunion. And
well, it sounds very unpleasant.
Sorry About the Demon. She had what sounded like a lot of B-horror on her IMDb.
Gotcha.
Then we have a character named Noah, played by Jack Doucette. Couldn't match him up on IMDb at all. And then we had a character, Principal Kruger, played by Liam McNamara. Liam was in the Outlander movie and a film called Anonymous Zombie. I don't think we met a principal in this episode.
I mean, unless it was the professor character and I was wrong about his credit.
No, because this one is just, he was in the end credits.
Oh, okay.
The professor certainly seems like somebody that's going to be around.
Yeah,
and that actor was a guest star. So,
okay.
I don't know. It could be a deleted scene. They got the credit because they filmed it, but then they didn't use it.
Yeah.
For any of those, or I missed somebody because it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to match people up. I did the best I can, and if you're one of the people that I wasn't able to match up, or somebody who I couldn't figure out who you were on IMDb, I apologize. But if you're listening to this podcast and you were involved in the filming of this show, whether it's cast, crew, production, and you want to talk to us, reach out, because we'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely. All right, do we have anything else to say before concluding?
I mean, that's all I have. I think we said a lot.
We did.
Can't wait to watch. Now that we've discussed it, we can go ahead and watch the next episode and start
We can run upstairs and do it right now.
Start prepping those notes, and can't wait to hear from all of you about what you thought about the first episode, what your guesses are, what are your theories about this series, what are you looking forward to, what do you hope happens, what do you hope doesn't happen. Like, let's talk about it. Join the conversation.
Absolutely. And if you make a comment, we will, as long as it's constructive and not troll-like, we will shout you out in the next podcast after this one drops.
Right.
Which could be episode 2 or 3.
Right.
Not totally sure how that's going to work yet.
Yeah, it's going to timing. We'll see. We'll get you eventually.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Also, in addition to commenting on the YouTube video, I do have a Facebook page a Facebook group that I started based on this series. I couldn't, as of when I was taking these notes, which again, we're about a week before you are. We time travel here.
Yep.
There wasn't any Facebook groups about this show yet, so I started one. So if you want to join my Facebook group, where we can have deeper conversations about the series. If you're looking for a place to just chat with other fans about the show, make sure you check out that group. It is called Revival SyFy Series Fans. Go find that and give it a join.
All right. We'd like to hear from you. What did you think of this podcast? What did you think of this episode? Stacie, can be reached at?
I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, the number of ways to do so, you can follow me on Twitter at Korman Productions. You can join the Korman Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Korman Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Korman Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Korman Productions, signing off.